are tuned in to the Talk About It podcast. I'm Lauren Fulmer.
I'm Victor Dantas.
And we're going to have a good time today. I'm looking forward to today's episode. We have a good friend, also entrepreneur, mother, wife, just go-getter all together, Elvith Santoyo McNaught. Elvith, how are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you.
Look at that.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm so lucky to be here with two handsome, very also, successful individuals.
We try, man.
You're already making me so nervous.
That's what here. Take a
good.
shot. Hey, thank you, though. We do have a little bottle of tequila that you brought from
Centenario.
from your tequila and wine bar, La Cantinita.
Absolutely.
Absolutely beautiful place you have there as well. So
Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time and coming. You're a complete go-getter. Stay busy with family and work. We've had your husband Justin on the show as well with his urban milling. So you guys are one busy family.
Yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate being here with you. I know it took a while to coordinate schedules and get me here, but this is awesome. I love what you guys are also doing with the Talk About It podcast, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, why don't you go ahead and just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself. Who is Elvith?
Oh, well, tricky question. Well, I like to consider myself a very outgoing, loving, introverted entrepreneur. I love meeting new people and constantly making new connections, such as the ones that we have been able to make together. I love being part of networks. I love constantly creating and innovating. It's my passion. It's what drives me. I know a lot of you know me as a bar restaurant owner, but although that's how my career started, in the last 3-4 years, I've adapted more of an entrepreneurial spirit. And it really shows who I am in that aspect. I love to build things. I love to create things, whether that's a business or a team. I love to build it. I love to establish it. I love to let it go and let it grow into what it needs to become. I also have a lot of passion for books. I love reading. I feel that books are a great way to continue self-education.
Yep.
On a personal note, I am a native to Mexico. So born in Mexico, I am the youngest of 4. I have an older brother, 2 older sisters, and then I follow. My family immigrated to the United States in the early 90s. We actually lived here in Monmouth for a few years.
Whoa.
Yes, and then we moved to Galesburg in 2000, and I've been there since. I did most of my schooling in Galesburg. In fact, I was one of 15 recipients of the George Washington Gale Scholar recipients. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the program, the George Washington Gale Scholarship is a scholarship program that Knox College, Carl Sandburg, and the city put together for an opportunity for first-generation college graduates, low-income students to go to college on a free college tuition scholarship. So I became a recipient my 8th grade year at Churchill Junior High, so amazing opportunity. And of course, throughout high school, you have to keep a certain GPA, stay out of trouble, excel in academics, and all those good stuff in order to continue with your education after high school. So long story short, I graduated from Knox College in 2012 with a bachelor's in economics, and it was around that time that I met my wonderful husband, Justin McNaught. We married in 2016, and now we have 2 beautiful little boys, Otis, who's 8, and Jonas, who's 5. When we're not working in our businesses, we love to be outdoors. Justin has really pushed me out of my comfort zone and has really helped me find a love for the outdoors. We love riding bikes or going through the Lake Story trails. Anything that is outside. And I am a boy mom, so I'm usually doing all the dirty sports, running around in the yard, climbing trees, whatever. That's us. So. Yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
That's good. I was thinking earlier today, knowing we were going to be sitting down, really how all 3 of us have completely different. I mean, you being from Brazil, your family in Mexico. I'm here in Illinois, normal, but I'm like, how different all 3 of our childhood and upraising and probably our parents were, probably all completely different. I was really thinking about that. I bet we could
Very
probably
neat.
laugh and compare stories for hours on that.
Absolutely, yeah.
How old were you when you got here?
I was 6.
6.
Or about to be 6.
How was the? Do you remember how was it to learn English?
Yes. So
maybe it was easy, right? Because for young kids, it's
6. I would
kinda,
imagine you're gonna get it much quicker.
yeah, very intimidating, of course. I was thrown into the school district and not knowing any English. I mean, we could probably say hi and bye, and that was about it. And so the teachers thought it would be a really good idea for me to backtrack and start through preschool and then move forward. So I am like a year older for my grade. So and that, I believe, really helped because, I started learning my colors and all the easy words. And within a year, I was pretty fluent in English. So, of course, I agree that age has a big difference. As I was younger, my brain absorbed a lot. So, and then, within a few years, I was talking like a normal English-speaking individual.
And then did your mom and dad know English? I mean, your dad did, right?
Yeah, enough to get us by, for sure.
So then were you coming home from school and probably helping with some of that, right?
Absolutely. I think all my siblings and we can share the frustration of having to translate our parents all the time, and I say it was frustration then. I look back now and I appreciate, those experiences. But yeah, my dad made this rule because after a few years, my siblings and I mean, it was just so easy for us to talk in English at the dinner table because it came to us so naturally because we did it all day at school. And so we started speaking English in the home, and my father was like, okay, we're not doing this anymore. We're going to speak Spanish in the house. As soon as you leave the house, you can speak whatever you want. So looking back then, I was like, what? How can you do this? But I'm glad that he did do that because I didn't lose my fluency in Spanish. And it's crazy to think how much of it I have lost because I speak English so much more than I do Spanish now. But with my dad, laying down the law and saying that we're speaking Spanish here only, it was great for us kids because we didn't lose that culture in our language, but it wasn't really good for my parents because, we were watching Spanish TV, listening to Spanish music at home and speaking Spanish. So my parents didn't get to absorb the language as much. But it did help us retain our original language.
Yeah, to me that's a big deal. I'll make sure, and I already do it. I only speak Portuguese with Julian.
Yeah, I love that.
Because I want to make sure he speaks Portuguese and is able to communicate with my family in Brazil.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you're a lot more disciplined than I am. I am horrible with that with my children, and now my children can hardly communicate with my parents, so I feel pretty guilty about that.
Exactly. Yeah. My parents are in town and they only speak Portuguese. They're learning English, but of course my parents want to speak Portuguese with Julian as well. So it's a big deal. It's good. He's gonna be 2 languages.
And it's very important to keep that appreciation for that side of his culture. Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah, I took 4 years of Spanish in school, and I mean, not using it immediately goes away.
Absolutely.
We've talked. I have like very minimal Spanish that I can still recall.
Okay.
From taking all.
So Victor and I can talk about you.
He can know Spanish. He doesn't know Spanish.
What?
But Portuguese is
Portuguese, yes.
Yeah.
Portuguese
I would say to
similar.
understand, I know 100%. Like when I listen, I can understand almost 100% of it. But when I speak, I mix Portuguese with Spanish.
Yeah.
Portuñol, that we call. Espanol with Portuguese.
Yeah, I know like my Spanish, I will definitely leave out some words. Like it would be like some broken Spanish. I've heard of broken English. But it'd be like that, right?
Yeah.
Definitely not the proper form. But I feel like I could get my point across.
Yeah.
I can usually follow at least the topic of what is being talked about.
Yeah.
But
so you would survive in Mexico and be able to order the tequila?
Oh, yeah.
Una tequila, por favor.
I have no problem getting
That's the most important part.
Drinks or food. I can get drinks or food, no problem.
If anything, you just...
Yeah, there you go. Just sign language is very popular in foreign language, in foreign countries.
Man. It all works. Yeah, you had to do it.
I had to do it when I got here in 2015. Didn't know any English.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy. And I'm still yet to travel outside the country, but that is something I look forward to.
You need to go to Brazil.
Yeah, I keep trying to get you to take me.
Yeah, we will, for sure.
Yeah, but now you have a newborn.
Yeah, it's okay. We can still go.
You take him with.
Yeah.
Do your parents speak English?
No.
None at all, right?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, they can't. I mean, they've been here several times, but they're learning little by little. At their age, it's harder, of course, but they're learning.
Yeah. And then your dad speaks English, no problem, and then your mom is a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. She can get by, you know, she can tell you how she's feeling or what she needs for the most part. My father is very good at the cuss words, as you may know, but he's gotten a lot better over the years. You know, he likes to think he's very good, which I love his positivity with that. But it's funny because now my mom will like try to learn English, or she tried the Carl Sandburg English classes.
Oh, she did?
Yeah. Okay. And she was so dedicated to that for about a year, and then it was just like it's just so hard for her to absorb now. And so she kind of gets discouraged, but she keeps trying. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's so hard learning. I mean, you know, the older we get, the harder it really is to learn. It's such an advantage of being a child and not have these,
I know,
like a broken system that you've already put in place.
I know. So I'm just like dreading the day my kids are going to be like, why didn't you teach me when I was young? Right. And I'm going to blame it on Justin and say, well, because dad didn't understand.
Well, I think I was talking with Justin for a little bit. He was at one point was doing Duolingo with your son.
They do that. They continue to do it occasionally.
Okay.
Mainly when I push them, I'm like, it's time to learn Spanish. And it's funny. I'll tell my kids, I'm like, if you're not going to Mexico with me until you learn Spanish, so that encourages them to learn.
Duolingo helps.
That's good.
Duolingo is good.
Yeah. But I do find that when I take the time to teach my kids or talk to them more often in Spanish, they retrain it pretty fast. Okay. So I just have to do a better job at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Duolingo sponsor us.
Someday. But no, what's cool with Duolingo is though it allows you to speak it, write it, read it. Yeah. You know, it's not just one thing of like reading in the book. I mean, it literally has you say it. It has you read the words, and then also like type right out. So yeah, I enjoy the Duolingo app quite a bit.
It helped me a lot.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your restaurant a little bit. Family.
Yeah, for sure.
Tequila Bar.
Food. You guys do a great job. Fantastic, fresh, authentic Mexican food at La Cantinita. Why don't you talk a little bit about how that all came into fruition?
Yeah, absolutely. So you might recall my former establishment, Acapulco Restaurant. So I bought the former carriage house in 2016, around that time, with the intention to move Acapulco Restaurant into the former carriage house. So I was envisioning a large Acapulco's with a large bar. That project quickly skyrocketed to about $2.5 million. And I knew I didn't want to be a restaurant owner for the rest of my life. So I was like, okay, we're just going to have to step back and reanalyze the business plan and figure out what to do next. At that time, we had tenants in what is now La Cantinita, the Knox County Assessor's Office. And then in 2018, they didn't renew the lease. So I was like, okay, well, here's this nice, smaller space. I've already invested in this building. I have to do something with it. So how can we create another version of Acapulco downtown? So I started to lean towards more of the bar industry. So I was thinking of something that would offer people really nice upscale cocktails and fresh, quick bites. So the space was perfect for it, 1,500 square feet. I was envisioning small tables, a really classy bar, high-end spirits. And then I started to realize, well, there's already so many bars downtown, so I have to figure out how I'm going to be unique and different from everybody else. I have to offer something that people can only come to me and get. So that's where the tequila aspect came in. It's my culture. I know it. I can offer it, and it's a product that hardly anybody talks about or offers. I did my research, and we're like the only tequila bar within like 100-mile radius. So that was just a quick plan, and then I started to dig into it more. And the more I dug into the tequila, the more I fell in love with it. I don't know why my father didn't introduce me to tequila sooner. He probably thought I was going to do something bad or something, you know. But anyways, so 2019 comes around, and you know, I made this business plan, and we get going with La Cantinita. We're like, okay, Justin started demoing the entire inside of the building, and every step was a step to the next step. You know, when he started, you know, pulling out the old carpet and tearing down drywall, you know, we started exposing this beautiful old historic brick building with original 10 ceilings and original 100-year-old floors. So the whole cantina aspect was coming into play really well. And then I came up with La Cantinita because in Mexico, actually, cantinas were referred to establishments near train stations, and normally workers would ride the train to work, and then they'd come back on the train. And once they got off the train, they'd go to like the neighboring bar or gas station that had booze or beer. So they started to call those La Cantinas. So the little bar next to the train station, or the bar next to the train station. So since we're small, I thought, well, why don't we make it Cantinita? So ita means anything refers to small or babyish, right, in Spanish. So I said we would be perfect as La Cantinita because we're going to be a bar and we're right next to the train station. And so putting that together, it just flowed so well.
Cool.
Yeah.
I never knew that. That's cool.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
I know. And we were getting so close to opening, you know, in 2020. Well, I was still running Acapulco restaurant, so it was just a lot. And I had just had Jonas, my second baby. So I had literally 3 projects happening, you know, trying to be a mom, trying to run this restaurant that's established and running, and then trying to open up a whole new business. So I convinced Justin that I needed to close Acapulco restaurant. There was a part of me that really wanted to keep Acapulco restaurant open because it was so successful and it was so great, and we had made a name for ourselves, but I just didn't have the manpower to hold that restaurant running to the capacity and to the reputation I wanted it to run at. And I knew that if I focused on Acapulco's while trying to build La Cantinita, I wasn't going to be able to give it 100% of everything I needed to give it. So I made the hard decision to close Acapulco's September of 2019 with the plan to open La Cantinita March of 2020. Well, then none of us planned for a pandemic, right? Right. So when the indoor shutdown happened, a lot of the production was put to a stop. You know, all the equipment we had ordered was like back ordered now. So it completely changed our schedule. And then we got into the whole deal with indoor shutdown, dining being closed. So we were like, we can't be just a tequila bar with small bites because we're not going to make it if we open in 2020. And we had to open in 2020 because we had already invested so much time and money. So then that's where the kitchen came into play. And originally we weren't going to have a kitchen because the space is so small. And if you look at my kitchen now, it's like a food truck. So trying to feed 100 people at once between the patio and the inside is pretty difficult, but we make it happen. Anyhow, so our back parking lot, which is now the patio, got turned into a patio, and we decided we were going to open a small kitchen, and everything we were going to produce was going to be prepped that day, and it went out that day. It was going to be fast, you know, not a lot of inventory being held because space was a huge stress for us. We didn't have a lot of space in that small building. We don't. And so I slowly developed a menu that would bring out the true beauty and nature of the Mexican food. You know, I feel like a lot of Mexican establishments have really fallen into a very typical product, like we're all serving the same enchiladas and tacos. And so I'm like, I need to be different, and I need to also show the true essence and beauty of our culture through our food and through our cocktails. So that's where I really focused on fresh food and fresh, amazing cocktails. And I wanted the atmosphere to be available to anyone that would walk in that door. I wanted them to feel comfortable and cozy. So although I was given it a bigger city vibe with a little bit of classiness, I still wanted it to be so welcoming to all the residents in Galesburg and all the residents from wherever they were coming from. So I focused a lot on that cozy welcomingness and that hospitality, while also being able to produce a really good product that would keep people coming back and that would keep people there. And I wanted to show the beauty of the Mexican culture, you know, through our paintings, through our cocktails, through everything that you walk in and you see, you know, it's real, it's authentic, it's Mexican, and it's beautiful. And
you killed it.
That's how we came to be.
Thank you.
You
killed it.
I appreciate it.
You guys did everything you just said. You literally accomplished, and I knew that.
Oh, thank you.
It is the Fiesta Bowl.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Now, don't get me started. If there's one thing I'm upset about, still. You took the torta off the menu.
I know.
Like a long time ago.
I did.
I'm still upset about it. That chicken chorizo combo with the torta was so good.
Yeah. Well, you know, like I said, we had to really detour from our original plan because of COVID. And so I knew that the kitchen was going to be our biggest selling point during the indoor shutdown. So I had to build a bigger menu. Mm-hmm. And during COVID, we were doing a lot of like carry out. So it was easier for the kitchen to prep and cook. And we used the dining area for storage. We had a lot more room and a lot more bodies able to work in the kitchen. And so eventually, once COVID started to die off, I started to realize how much stress and very little room the kitchen had. And I was putting a lot of stress on my staff. I mean, they were doing a great job, but I mean, you'd fit 3 bodies in there, and it wasn't necessarily that we didn't have enough bodies. It's like, you can't fit any more bodies in here. Right. It's too tight. You can't fit any more inventory. We cannot sustain the space for all this inventory. So I had to eliminate items from the menu, and I picked the best selling, and then the ones that I eliminated, I will occasionally bring in as a special. But yes, I get that all the time. People are like, why did you take this off the menu? And it's like, I had to pick and choose my best.
No, and that's cool. You've done a good job. Like I said,
thank you.
I personally haven't talked to anyone who's like, man, I didn't care for that place. You know, I mean, it's definitely a hit. I enjoy coming there. I love a good cocktail. I definitely love the food.
Yeah.
You guys got a good thing going there.
Yeah.
For
I
sure.
appreciate that. Thank you. Well, it took a lot of sweat and love to build those menus. You know, all the cocktails from our house signatures come from my heart and come from family experiences and, you know, family reunions. So stole a lot of ideas and mixes from my dad. He was great mixing tequila. My older sister Ivania really helped me with the menu. You know, I created this menu and she came in and whipped it together. And, you know, we brought a lot of like our cooking style from Acapulco's. Our seasoning is like a family secret. I love it. And really that's the main component of why our food is so good, is the seasoning we use, all the spices we mix together. And yeah, you know, my sister had the taste, I had the eye, and we built it, and it was amazing. And we built it in a way that is so easy to train somebody else to do it. I mean, right now I have 3 college students running my kitchen, you know, and none of them have ever worked in a kitchen before or a restaurant. And I mean, part of it was that they were willing to learn, but they picked it up and learned really fast, and now they're running my kitchen. So I wanted it to really be something that could turn into easy training and be a sellable business. To speak in all honesty, you know, my goal was to sell La Cantinita within the first 5 years. La Cantinita wasn't going to be forever.
Right.
It was going to be my step to my next step.
Right.
And so,
well, why don't you, since you say that, people have known and seen it's been for sale.
Yes.
Which that's one thing, you know, people always are like, oh my gosh, they're selling, they must not be making it. That's just people's negative.
Right.
Immediately. That's just what most of us do as humans. Just
Absolutely.
call it what it is.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh my gosh, you know, they can't believe they're selling it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Which is
and
kind
knowing you, I would share with people, I say, dude, they're doing just fine.
Thank you.
That, you know, as an entrepreneur, that's what you've been after.
Yeah.
And so, you've got an opportunity. You've grown it. You've gotten it where you want it to be. You just told us the whole description. It's there. And so now what?
Yes. And going back to what you said, you know, how people are quick to assume something bad is happening. Well, first thing we should know is like, something that doesn't work isn't sellable, right?
Right.
So,
that's true too.
So it has to work in order to be able to sell. So So like I said, my goal was to build La Cantinita, establish it, and within the first 5 years, get it sold. We listed the bar for sale after the first year. And I will say that a lot of emotion played into it. You know, it was a very, very stressful time with COVID and, you know, starting a new business and having just closed one, trying to run my household, all of that was crazy. So I was like, we're doing really good the first year. The numbers are great. Let's just put it on the market. And we did. We listed it with a broker. No interest, of course, during COVID, because this was still during COVID. A lot of people were scared to buy restaurants, especially restaurants, bar restaurants. And so that was listed for about a year with the broker. Then we took a break for about 6 months. In 2022, I did decide to close evenings just because I fell back into the routine of being married to the business. My goal from Acapulco's was not to be married to my business. You know, I wanted to build something new that would run itself. And then I found myself in the second year having to be the thinker and the doer. And that was really stressful on myself and my family. So, and I love what I do and I love the establishment, but I knew personally and health-wise, I couldn't keep going. So we closed evenings just to take a little break, Justin and I, because we were there, you know, almost every night, every day for the first year or 2 years. So we closed for the evenings and that gave us a break, but that hindered the business. It wasn't the smartest business move to make, and I knew that, but I was willing to take the loss and get my time back. And we continued working the kitchen till 5. We'd continue working the bar till 8. And slowly the bar started to pick up traffic. We'd bring in like music, and that really made it work. Well, just recently in 2023, beginning of 2023, I reopened for dinner Thursday through Saturday, and people heard the word fast, and we started booming and moving fast again. And it's been going really great. And so I decided to relist it. And this time on our own, we listed it on bizbuysell.com. I know that Clear Profits Your Business helped us, which I really appreciate that as well. But we listed it on our own online, and I dropped the price immensely, like to half of what it's worth. And I started having people flocking me. A lot of, you know, we had some locals, a lot of people from out of state. But there was a part of me that is like, no, this isn't the buyer. You know, just hearing people, seeing their ideas, all of that. Because a big part of me selling this business is making the decision with the right buyer. I want someone who's going to continue to grow it. Obviously, a new buyer is going to make his adjustments, her adjustments, and I'm okay with that. But I want to see this place thrive because it has the potential. Well, recently we just found a buyer from California. He is everything I would want in a buyer. He has a lot of experience in the industry. He actually has his own restaurant in Long Beach. He used to have 2. He had to close one because of COVID. And his restaurant in Long Beach, I did my research, has a lot of similarity with our place here. You know, top-notch cocktails, a lot of really fresh Mexican food. He contacted me online and was like, hey, I saw your business. I'm interested. Let's talk numbers, blah, blah, blah. So we sent him all the information. And at this point, I've talked to about like 20 people, so I'm not too excited about it. And I'm not thinking anything's going to come out of it. But he comes back and he's like, numbers are great. I can't believe you're, you know, selling this much and you're only a cafe on cafe hours right now. I want to come see it. So I'm like, okay, great. He's flying from California. He must be really serious. So he comes down about 3 weeks ago now, and he was here all week. He visited the establishment in and out. You know, he loved what he saw. He fell in love with the cocktails, the food. I love how he said, you know, I came with low expectations because I'm from California, you know? I'm like, okay. And he's like, but you blew me out of the water. The food is amazing. He's like, your cocktails are better than mine. So I loved that. It was such a huge compliment, you know, and it's such a huge compliment to be able to find a buyer from across the country, you know?
Awesome.
Yeah, and especially in a way, someone from California who probably has had a lot of experience to say that about.
And how was the process? Like, he got there and you guys just made a bunch of food for him to try?
Right? Well, this was like a super like learning experience for Justin and I because we've never done this before. So he walked in, you know, of course I'm nervous because I don't want to disappoint or let him down, but he was super easygoing. Really fun guy as well. He immediately, you know, started complimenting how he loved the space. I sat down with him. We talked about questions he had. And then we're like, let's eat. I recommended some things. We recommended cocktails, and he was happy with everything. The next day he came back for lunch, and, he reordered. I think he tried every item on the menu and every cocktail, which is really awesome. So he stayed and visited the bar Wednesday until Saturday. He loved what he saw. We've been hosting college nights, so just a really good way to get the Knox students and Carl Sandburg students into the community, interacting with each other. And since our La Cantinita staffs a lot of college students, I was like, let's create this vibe for you guys. And honestly, the idea was more my staff, but so we made it happen, and we started college nights, and he was there for the first one. And it was a huge success, and he loved it. And he's like, I want to do that every Saturday if I buy the place. So Sunday came, and he's like, we're buying, we want to buy. And then here I am trying to find every reason not to sell, right? Because it's like, it's actually happening. And now I do have to really detach myself from the establishment. But long story short, we are signing actually the sale agreement this Friday. Our lawyer's making the final adjustments. We're signing this Friday, and my last day is scheduled to be April 30th of this year, so right around the corner, and his first day will be May 1st. Okay. He'll do the training with me, and also with our manager, Crystal. She's been great. And then I'll serve as an advisor for a couple months afterwards. But
good for you.
Yeah.
So
but
for everybody that loves La Cantinita, what should they expect? Should they expect something that will change, or that will keep the same thing, same food, same type of drinks? He will most likely add some more stuff?
Well, I think what to expect is a lot of new good things. He is here, and he wants to open up 7 days a week. He wants to open up every night because he sees the potential in the establishment. And that's exactly what I wanted the buyer to see, is this place has a lot of potential. It just needs someone to give it TLC and who's willing to be here. So his son, who's 21, is actually moving here to Galesburg, and he will be running the establishment with Crystal, our GM. So he's keeping almost everything the same staff. It's funny because he's like, feel free to keep your pictures here if you want, and everything else that's personal. And I love that. But he's going to keep everything mostly the same. He is going to add a few things to the menu, which is great as well. He'll bring in some new events. He's looking to do a lot of live music, and he's looking to continue to do the college nights every Saturday. So I don't really think anyone should be scared or expect anything differently. This is going to continue being the really awesome La Cantinita that you've all fell in love with, but at more vamped aspect, more vamped, better, bigger. So
that's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what does it mean for you next? Are you going to maybe take some chill time with the husband and kids and be able to enjoy some of that, or you already got your eyeball and you don't have to tell us what it is, but do you already have I think I'm going to try this? Yeah.
Well, it's funny. The week I decide to sell La Cantinita, I get some job opportunities from Knox, which were great opportunities, and I did not want to let them go, but I was like, you know what? Here I go again. I'm done with one project, and I'm immediately jumping into another one. So I'm going to do what I originally planned, and that was I'm going to sell the bar. We get to keep the building, by the way, so we'll be the landlords. So that's going to be some really nice passive income. So I'll be able to take the summer off, and more if I want, but I'm thinking I'm going to take the summer off, really enjoy my time with my kids. I haven't had time to be home with them as much as I'd like to be, and now it's their turn, with me. So I'm going to be home with our kids. We're moving out in the country, actually. So about 25 minutes outside of Galesburg. We bought a really nice small ranch home with 4 acres. So I'm looking forward to gardening and doing all the things I haven't really been able to do, but that I really want to do.
Good.
So, and I'm also planning to eventually, come fall, help my husband with Urban Milling Company. I'm going to I'm going to work on the business side of it. So I'll be doing all the clerical work. I'll do all the business side. I'll grow that. And then he'll continue to do you know, the physical labor. So I think this business is going to be really different from our past businesses. It's going to just involve him and I mainly, and it's going to be more of a family-oriented business. I'm really looking forward to Otis growing and, you know, seeing him and Dad in the shop working. So that's my fantasy down the road.
Cool.
That's
awesome. That is good.
Thank you.
So you guys will have some dirt bikes and stuff for your kids to be messing around
with. Oh, yeah.
That, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they love that stuff.
Oh, my gosh, yes. One time they made me ride Otis's dirt bike, and Justin thought it was like, yeah, try it. It'd be so funny. And I almost I did crash. I almost crashed into a house. So I'm looking forward to becoming an expert on the dirt bike.
On the dirt bike?
Yes.
Is there a video of this?
Oh my gosh.
This crash?
No.
Does Justin have that?
No, but I'm sure it's well in his memory never to make me do that again.
That's cool. So what's your favorite thing to eat? And not even necessarily Mexican or whatever. So what's your you know, you've been in restaurants, you've dealt with food and drinks. So what's your kind of go-to when you get to sit down and eat?
Well, you know, Justin and I have a big heart for Indian food. Mexican food is still my number one food. Every time we go out, we usually try to scope out a really cool like Mexican restaurant or tequila bar now, because we like to like see what other people are doing, what's trendy elsewhere. But when we're not going for Mexican food, Indian food is our passion. I love Indian food. I probably haven't really had the real authentic, you know, Indian food from someone's Indian kitchen, but Cornucopia does an awesome job.
That Monday buffet?
Yes, and I forget.
I was gonna ask what type of Indian food do we have in Galesburg?
Yes, Cornucopia. Every Monday they have a buffet on Mondays.
Yes.
Mostly vegan, right? I mean, most of the stuff, at least I've been 3 or 4 times, it always has like some tofu, will be very, I don't know what the word, it seems healthy.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if
what's the traditional Indian food? What's
spicy?
Yeah, it's like curry, right? Like curry dishes,
tofu.
And then
a lot
they
of
usually
veggies.
have like some of the almost like a bread. Or like
the naan. Yeah, you can't skip the naan.
Yeah.
I probably overindulge.
Monday, bro.
For sure.
It's good.
Yes.
And honestly, the prices for a buffet, the price is right there. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Absolutely. I think it's a great place. And I know that there used to be an Indian restaurant at, is it Best Western?
Yeah.
And that was there for like a couple years.
Jumers.
Yes.
Yeah, they had, and I think maybe they would have been if it wasn't, you know, you get on the outskirts of town. Galesburg residents are so silly, man. They'll be like, man, I don't know, it's way over there. Like, dude, it's going to take you 6 minutes.
Well, I've been guilty of that myself, right?
We all do, but like, you know, like I remember when you lived in Arizona, I mean, shoot, to go to dinner somewhere was going to take us 40 minutes.
Right.
And that's like us driving to Peoria.
Yeah.
And we can't get people in Galesburg to literally go 10 minutes. You can go from this side of the city to this side of the city in 10 minutes. And they're like, man, it's all the way over there.
I know.
I can't do it.
Yeah, it's so funny you bring that up because the new buyer, Armando, so his son, we were trying to like tell him what there is to do in Galesburg, and we were talking to him and we're like, but you know, you can also like go to the cities and Peoria. There's a lot of things to do there. And I'm like, but it's a 45-minute drive. And then we're like, they're from California. It probably takes them 45 minutes to get to work or whatever. Yeah, it's so normal for them. And and it was like, he was like, oh, that's a piece of cake, you know?
Yeah, I think we just get lazy.
Small city mind.
It kills me that people will say that stuff, or you can be on the phone with a friend or something, you know, and say, hey, you know, let's go do something. Like, man, that's on the other side of town. Like, okay, we better fill our gas tank up,
right?
You know, yeah, I just get at a kick. It's kind of a silly mentality, but it takes place. I'm sure it's not just a Galesburg thing. I'm sure
it's a small city, small city mind
too. But yeah, I feel like some of those businesses, they get on, like that place was just on the outside of town, kind of out of sight, out of mind, I guess. But
I thought it was a great place. We loved going there occasionally. You know, we thought it was good. So absolutely.
For sure.
But yeah, Indian food for sure. Asian food. Too.
I love Asian food.
Yes,
Sushi?
yes,
sushi.
I love sushi. Right? I feel like it's one of those foods that you can just eat a lot of, and you're like, don't feel guilty because it's like it's just rice and fish.
It's just raw salmon,
right? Exactly.
I love the crazy part of sushi for me is usually like 20 minutes later, I'm like, I'm hungry.
Right? I know. Like you can have so many rolls.
I
And
would say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think so. You guys wasabi fans?
yes, the first time I had wasabi, like I had no idea what it was. I'm like, oh, it's like imitation guacamole or something. I don't know. And I had a big bite of that, and I will never forget that time. I think, my eyes instantly started watering, the pain in my nose. I was like, oh my gosh, what is this stuff?
I used to hate it, but now I like it.
Yeah, so it gives you
just a little bit. No?
Yeah. I like to mix it in the soy sauce.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. My first time ever having it, I worked at an Applebee's in Phoenix, Arizona, and the guy had a big chunk of it on a butter knife.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, for $50, eat this. And I did it. I'd never had it before.
Yeah.
And immediately, like soon as that thing hits and then you breathe.
Yeah.
And then it ruins your life. I mean, like your eyes are, start watering
Yeah.
up. But I enjoy it. It's good. Not that much. I don't want to eat a ball of it.
You wouldn't do that again, right?
No, honestly not. I need some more zeros.
Yeah.
Like at least 500. Maybe.
Exactly.
I can't do it for 50 anymore.
No, for sure.
I eat pretty much any type of food, right? But I would say my favorite sushi, like literally the rice and the raw salmon, and that's it.
Yes.
And my second, I would say, is Mexican. But the reason why I say it's Mexican, because Mexican food is very similar to Brazilian food.
Yeah.
We have that base. I don't know how it's in Mexico, but in Brazil, every family, they have rice, beans, some type of salad, and some type of meat.
Yes.
Every day. So whenever I want to try some Brazilian food, I go to a Mexican restaurant here.
I love it.
So
Neat.
it's the closest to Brazil.
So what's up with these Brazilian steakhouses? Is that like Brazilian type food or what?
Yeah, we have a lot of those in Brazil. Basically, every corner we have a steakhouse like that. Of course, it's way cheaper than here. Here is expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brazil's culture is barbecue. So basically, making steaks. We do a lot of steaks. We do a lot of rice and beans like Mexicans do. We don't do tortillas like Mexicans do, but we do a lot of rice.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's very similar. But yeah, when it comes to steak houses, yeah, it's something traditional in Brazil.
Yeah.
You guys will just have tortillas.
Oh my gosh, almost
you're
with
like
every
dipping
meal.
dipping it and stuff,
It's funny. I mean, my father, who's the most Mexican out of all of us, I mean, every meal has to be with a tortilla.
It's like a fork in one hand and a tortilla in
Yes.
the other. And that's like, they're like dipping it the whole time, and usually it's crazy.
Yes, I know. And the
You
best
might eat
is
like
when
6 tortillas with your
right?
dinner.
I know.
You know?
It's funny because my dad will be like, the doctor said I had to cut down on my tortillas. And I'm like, Dad, you eat like a whole pack per meal, you know?
He probably has them in the glove box. Like when he's driving, he just eats a tortilla.
Seriously.
Like you have Cheez-Its.
Yeah, but the best is when my mother makes homemade tortillas. Oh my gosh, they're amazing to me. But she still says they're nothing like Mexican tortillas in Mexico because the cornmeal is so different down there. Like down there, it's freshly grated, right? From the grater to the mill or whatever they're doing next. But she always says Mexican food here, even though it's amazing, it's still slightly different than Mexican food in Mexico because you're getting those fresh ingredients right from the market downtown. And,
People swear by the Mexican Coke, the Coca-Cola, right? Not the white Coke, but the Mexican Coke. There is a difference. Like you guys have that in La Cantinita, don't you?
Yeah.
It's like, what's
South
up with
America.
that?
Yeah, I think to be able to explain that difference, it's like you just have to try it. Try the Coke from the fountain and then try the Coke from the bottle. And there really is a crisp, sweet difference to it. Like the Mexican Coke doesn't taste as artificial as the Coke from the fountain does. At least that's my opinion.
Okay.
And I think that's what makes it so different because I feel like when you take Coke from the fountain, you're like hit with a punch of sugar. And then when you take this Coke from the bottle, this Mexican Coke, it's like crisp and it's
From the glass
sweet.
bottle?
Yes, and you have to drink it from the bottle.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh my gosh. On a hot summer day, it's like perfect.
Yeah. If that doesn't make you feel like a kid,
I know, right?
I would say that's probably because of the way Coke manufacturers or they're made in different places. Because I do see a lot of difference from south of Brazil to north of Brazil. There's a huge difference.
There is a difference in FDA rules.
Yeah. I want to say the sugar that they use is different too.
Yeah, the Mexican Coke uses cane sugar.
Right.
Yeah, as opposed to, I don't know if like artificial sugars with the Coke from the fountain here. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, Brazil grows a lot of sugar cane.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that makes sense.
Yeah, sugarcane fields in Mexico are huge.
Yeah, in Mexico. In South
Similar
America,
to agave fields.
So tell us about this Centenario.
Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy this tequila. It's actually for like the last, I want to say 10 years, it's the #1 selling tequila in Mexico based on production and price or sales.
40% alcohol.
Centenario.
Yes. And so it is a very like medium quality tequila. You get the best quality for the buck. So it runs around like $20 to $30 if you get it at the store. But it's actually a tequila blanco, which would be a very young tequila, so silver tequila, mixed with a little bit of reposado. So reposado is going to be more of an aged tequila. The reposado tequila gives it that straw-like color, and it gives it a little bit more of a flavor. But it's a very light, crisp tequila. It's great with like steaks, chicken, tacos, of course. But it's easy on right, exactly. It's easy on the palate, and it's just a great quality and product all around.
Do you guys when you do a shot of tequila, do you do the lime and salt?
I don't think.
No.
I don't.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I never do.
Well, I think the lime and salt, and I shouldn't say I think, but based on research, the lime and salt came about because you needed to disguise the bad flavor of the tequila. And back, a few years ago, still today, you see a lot of like mixto tequilas is what they call them. And those are the tequilas that were being sold here in America. So that's going to be a tequila mixed with other spirits to finish that alcohol content. So normally when you see like, it'll tell you how much alcohol or ABV it has, like 80% agave or 40% agave. That means that it's mixed with other alcohol products. So then those mixed with tequilas were just really high in sugar, and then it would give a bad taste and a bad after effect. And so to disguise the bad taste, you would chase it with lime and salt. But if you go to like higher end establishments or tequila establishments in Mexico, the lime and the salt are considered palate cleaners. So you'll take a sipping tequila and then you'll clean your palate with the lime and the salt. You'll clear your palate and then you resip the tequila. But originally, the lime and tequila was just a way to disguise that bad flavor in the tequila.
If you were drinking like Pepe Lopez.
Yes.
Do you remember that stuff?
Oh my gosh,
It
yes.
was like Jose Cuervo's,
that was like in the 90s.
Yeah, it was like Jose Cuervo's broke uncle. It was like Pepe Lopez. It was like $9.99. It didn't cost very much, and it was terrible. It made you feel terrible the next day too. Yeah,
but tequila has become so popular just even in the last 10 years that now tequila producers are really finding that people want that true essence product. So they're making better products. They're not mixing them with other liquors or different sugars. So you're seeing a lot of the products that you would only see in Mexico, such as Centenario, now being sold in America. So
you guys made a really good at La Cantinita. In fact, Max made it. He was like, you guys were like, hey, Lauren, try this. And it was a tequila old fashioned. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And it was like mezcal with clear, some sort of tequila silver.
Okay.
And then with the old fashioned goods that you would make a bourbon old fashioned traditionally.
Yes.
And I was like concerned, like, I don't know if it's going to taste real good. And then also probably have a little bit of a bite. And that thing was smooth as can be. And really with the mezcal combo of the tequila, I don't know what it was, but it was really, really good and smooth.
Yes, when you use a really good 100% product of the agave, you're getting a really nice cocktail. Yeah. And the neat thing about mezcal is cooked differently than tequila. So mezcal is taken and the piña, which is the heart of the agave plant, is cooked underground with like stones or coal. So it comes in direct contact with the smoke, and that will give it more of a roasty, smoky flavor. And it's great for old fashioned, especially smoked old fashions, because you already have that smokiness in the essence of the spirit. But really nice mezcal is used for a lot of smoky cocktails because of that smoky, roasty flavor.
Right.
So
it's almost too much for me. Just a straight mezcal shot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay, but it's definitely because of that charcoaly kind of the burn or ash. Whatever. It just doesn't really.
Yeah, it's not for everyone's palate. Yeah.
But mixed in that drink with other stuff, it didn't have that.
Yeah, the flavor was more disguised for you.
It was really good.
Good. I'm glad you liked it. And I'm glad that you tried the mezcal. That's one thing that I really encourage people to do is try the mezcal, because they say every tequila is a mezcal, but not every mezcal is a tequila. So mezcal is, I like to call like the older sister of tequila. She's like it. And like I said, different than tequila, it's cooked underground. And the beauty of mezcal is that it's cooked for a very short period of time. So you're getting that really true essence and flavor of the plant and what is extracted from the heart of the plant. And it's also full in nutrients, believe it or not. So a shot of mezcal a day is healthy for you.
Well, let's get going.
I love it.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our time.
Absolutely. This has been great.
You brought us a bottle. You brought us some La Cantinita
We really appreciate
shirts.
it. Yep.
Yeah.
We appreciate that so much.
Well, thank you for taking the time to get to know me a little deeper and to have me talk about what I love doing. And I look forward to the future for all of us.
Thank you very much for coming.
You spend these next few months recouping and re-energizing and getting focused in on whatever you do next. I'm sure it'll be great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So much. So,
all right.
Elvith Santoyo McNaught, and it's the Talk About It podcast. Victor Dantas, I'm Lauren Fulmer, and we'll see you later.
Subscribe to the channel. See you guys next week.
Thank you. Thank you for watching this episode of the Talk About It podcast.
I'm Victor Dantas.
I'm Lauren Fulmer.
And we would encourage you guys to subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit the bell. It's going to be right below the video. So
hit the bell.
So you know when the next episode is up.
We appreciate all the support.
Thank you.